when I was 5. I think my dad brought home a keyboard for Christmas and encouraged us to have at it. So me and my brother, being competitive as brothers are, we both taught ourselves piano and were really passionate about it from just that inkling of it. He's a musician as well, and just learning from the joy it brought him, the joy it brought our household, just listening to music all the time, being musical people. Yeah, that's how I got my foot in the door with music. Me picking the trombone was the best sort of mistake, I guess you could say, ever. I initially picked saxophone and trombone when the fourth grade band director gave us the sheets for like, what instrument do you want to play? And so I chose saxophone in competition with my brother because he was already playing. He's a couple years older than me. I was like, I'm gonna catch up. But my journey on trombone really started in fourth grade when I chose instruments in band. Our band director gave us these sheets with a bunch of pictures on them with instruments, and it was just like circle 2 of them that you want to, give a shot at. So came in one day and tried a saxophone mouthpiece, and I was pretty good, but tried a trombone mouthpiece, and my band director was like, "You're just like a natural for that. Let's go trombone." And I was like a little mad because I wanted to compete with my brother because he played saxophone at the time, but as soon as I started working on it, I fell in love with it. So that's how me and trombone kind of chose each other. I would say family for me is everything as a person, and certainly as a musician. It's been a big framework as to how I have been able to matriculate and just fall in love with it how I have. Like I said, I grew up in a musical household. My brother played an instrument. I mean, everybody had to play an instrument at one point, but we being me, my brother and sister were in band together. Me and my brother still play our instruments. I've thought about this a lot recently, especially with my dad recently passing away. It's everything because that's what you do it for. You do the passion, you do the gigs, not just for yourself and your own gratification, but just to bring joy and fulfillment and all the emotions that you feel for your favorite song or whatever to other people, just to share that sentiment. So yeah, that's why family is so big for me, because I feel like it's how I got my foot in the door, it's how I was able to keep going, and it's what keeps me going. So yeah. So I got to high school and I was doing district honor bands at this point. I would make like the district group for like everybody that was in that area of town. I was section leader. I was in marching band. I was the band person. If you think about the stereotypical, I was that times 10. And I did those bands. I would come back to school and keep practicing. And there was a point where I had to tell myself, I don't want to be an architect anymore. I want to do music. I have a C in math and I can't draw. So trombone it should work out for me. I was in love with it at that point, seriously. And I think that the turning point was me joining the Atlanta Symphony Talent Development Program. It was something that I heard of in all-state bands and that my peers had talked to me about, but it really came together for me when I finally auditioned, got in, had the support of my family, and got to study with a teacher who was in the symphony, and I got free tickets to concerts and ended up getting into any school that I really could think of, which was including the Cleveland Institute of Music, where I ended up going, but also schools like the New England Conservatory, the Juilliard School, the Manhattan School of Music, so many places. And it was just because of that exposure and that program and what learning from somebody who's doing this every day did for me. Exposure to me is quite literally the bread and butter of how you can bridge the gap from somebody to take them from point A to point B in almost anything, but especially creativity. I think that once you see something and know that it's possible, the sky is the limit and the ideas are limitless. I think that exposure is what takes somebody who's like 3 years old and goes to the symphony for the first time, or a baseball park or a football game, whatever you're doing, and goes, well, I can do that. How do I get there? So exposure at that level, but also throughout, as you keep going, as you keep matriculating through whatever it is you do, you have to have that example there. What is great? What does greatness look like in this field? Or what is fulfillment? Or what is whatever you're doing it for, whether it is fulfillment, greatness, because you love it, it's all important. So I think exposure helps take somebody from being a novice in whatever regard, whether it be experience, whether it be, just a knowledge about it, and takes them to wherever level they want to get to with something. And I definitely saw that being from south part of Fulton County in Atlanta, Georgia. It's not the same as the north part of the county in terms of demographic, but also resources too. I saw that very real and very highlighted just in being in the city and trying to keep playing my instrument after they canceled programs in elementary schools. And I think that seeing that so early and, going to the talent development program and seeing how it changed my life for the better. And so many rooms that I've been in and just the contrast, for lack of a better term, that I've seen in my own friends and community and spaces that I've gone to for music. I've always wished and I've always been pushing for it to be the same for everybody, because I feel like if everybody had the same exposure, or at least good exposure to things, the sky's the limit for what we see anybody be able to do. So throughout school in Cleveland, and as I've kind of walked into this professional career being a trombonist, it's been a lot of learning, a lot of, books and stuff, but more so it's, they say it's not what you know necessarily, it's who you know. And for this opportunity, it was just that. I made a lot of friends, just traveling around with this thing and playing with different people that play trombone, but a whole bunch of musicians. And a good friend of mine, Aaron Valmay, was just gave me a call one day, actually. I don't know what I was doing. I was like doing laundry or something. He was just like, hey, how would you like to go on tour with Jeezy? And I was like, the rapper? Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So we talked logistics. It made sense for me. And he's also on this tour as well, playing bass trombone. I'm doing a little bit of bass and tenor trombone just to keep things fresh. And that's how I initially got my foot in the door. And as I did my first couple of dates and have just got to work with Derek Hodge, who's an amazing bassist, but an equally amazing conductor as well for this ensemble, and The Color of Noise. It's been, and Jeezy, obviously, it's been invaluable. I think just seeing different cities and also just these spaces where you can bring so many black people together and we can celebrate ourselves, we can dress to the nines and, listen to our favorite rappers. It's so cool, but also just like exposure again. You can see an orchestra and be like, oh wow, that's a different lane, but it's all music, it's all stuff we love, and it's all, at the end of the day, I think why we do this is why I decided to do this thing. It's why it's just worked out this way. I would have to say my favorite city so far on this tour has to be New Orleans, not just for like the culture, and obviously, it was a great show. Food is good. I think music just runs through that city. I think that's probably why. I got to actually go out and busk on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter and play with some musicians there. I was like, I need to practice and play with some cats on some jazz stuff as well. So it's been really fun. Being in Houston is so special. I mean, I have familial connections here. I have friends that live here. I love the city, and anytime I've gotten to come here, I think this is my third or fourth time in Houston in my life. It's always been something new that I pick up coming here, whether it be culture, slang, anything. It's important, I think, for our diaspora as black people. It's one of those cultural cities like Atlanta. I can't put it above Atlanta just yet, but it's there, it's close. And being here especially, and getting to talk to the ownership and just looking at this place. I mean, you see so much culture, you see so much history, and you feel the importance of that with what they do, like DJs being here and vinyl nights and the vinyls you have around, you have records. I mean, quite literally off the record. So it's important, but it's also special because you're cultivating that type of space that I honestly like crave. I love having spaces where culture is just as present as community, and you get that special opportunity to merge the two, and you get stuff like meeting people like Simone and meeting people like Jeezy, meeting people like anybody, anybody that has that creative itch, and we all come together and make stuff like tours, interviews, concerts, recitals, whatever you have it happen. I'd say it's vital, and places like Off the Record are vital for the culture. when it comes to thinking about what's next for my career, it's really, really interesting. I'm talking to a lot of my friends and family about that, and it's shifted so much, and it continues to redefine itself, you know. When I was 18 years old, freshly out of school, freshly out of the talent development program, I was like, I want to be an orchestral musician, and if I don't do that, I'm a failure. And that couldn't have been farther from the truth. You know, I've got to grow up and be an adult, pay some bills, play some places, you know, get to see the world a little bit. And as I've redefined that for myself, I've kind of seen that I don't want to just be what I'm training to be in terms of classical training, but I would love to be a representation of where I come from, you know, being Atlanta, being a really black area that plays R&B, jazz, you name it, you know. So that's why I really, really cherish opportunities like being on tour with The Color of Noise and Jeezy, and opportunities like I'd say I got to be in a movie with Jennifer Hudson and do that. Traveling anywhere with classical ensembles, obviously, but the stuff that really reaches my heart is familial stuff and stuff close to the culture, you know. Not to say that classical doesn't, but, you know, it's all one and the same. Music is important in every form it has, not just one. So, yeah, what it looks like for me is continuing to do stuff like this, continuing to work with really, really cool creatives and artists that I love working with, but it also means playing with orchestras sometimes too. It means putting myself in spaces where I can hope to inspire, but bring people together more importantly, and make more community for people to be inspired and get exposed to something that they could possibly do for the rest of their life. If I have to give one piece of advice to anybody in any creative lane, whether it be music with trombone, piano, violin, if you want to be a videographer, if you want to digital art, anything, you just gotta keep going. There's no way to reach where you're going if you don't move forward, whether that be doing something every day to say that you did it, or even if it's something you're really passionate about. You know, every day is not going to be the same, but the important thing is that you stack the days, I would say. You know, you have to have one foot in front of the other and keep on keeping on, for lack of better terms, and really be persistent with it, because the only person that's gonna know every single day that you've had to go through is you, and the only person that has to go through those days with you is you. You're the only one that knows your experience, and with that, it's your obligation to believe in yourself and to push yourself forward.
No. Thank you. Might be exceeding what we went ahead.
All right.